All right. Lesson 27, completing the square. Okay. So I actually want to say something really fast before we start. So I don't think this is going to be an issue anymore, but 2 semesters ago, I think, within the last year or 2 years, some teachers were teaching a method of completing the square that you did a lot of it in your head and you weren't writing things down. And then I taught completing the square, and my students kept doing it the way they had learned like years prior instead of what I was writing. And then I was like, what the heck? So I took a picture of it and I emailed it to Weber and I said, is this acceptable for completing the square? And they said no. And it caused a lot of problems for those students. So here's what I'm saying to you. Write it the way I write it. Long story short. If you learned it a different way and you didn't write all this down, you have to write it down because I've already double checked and I've already ran into this problem. Okay. So everybody just kind of kick back and watch right here. Okay. Just sit back and relax. Okay. So if I had that problem and someone told me to solve it, okay, watch right here. I would go to x and x. Signs are the same. They're both negative. 5 and 2 or 1 and 10. There's no numbers in front of those x's. So I can just look at the 5 and the 2 and the 1 and 10 and see which one adds to give me 8. And then I look and I'm like, neither one adds to give me 8. So this thing doesn't factor. Well, then if I wanted to, I could use last time's lesson, which is quadratic formula. Okay, totally fine. Today we're going to use a different method called completing the square. Okay, who says I'm with you? Raise your hand. Okay, great. So here's what we're going to do, okay? Solve this. So follow the steps. Look at these steps on the other side. We're going to read the step and then do the step. Read the step and then do the step, okay? So step number 1 is to take the constant, which is a 10, and move it over to the other side, okay? So everybody go x to the second minus 8x plus blank equals 10 plus blank. Now, I probably shouldn't have added the blanks yet, but it's fine. I probably should have talked about step 2. So look at step 2. The leading coefficient. Guys, look. See this x squared? Do you see in front of it how there's nothing there? So it's really a what right there? It's really a 1. If that's anything other than a 1, you have to factor it out. Well, that's not an issue for us because it's a 1, so we're totally good, okay? Right there on the side of number 2, I want you to write add blanks. That's where you should add the blanks after you factor out. Okay, now we're going to complete the square. So everybody watch. Look what you do. You take the number in front of the x, which is an 8. You divide it by 2 and you get a 4. So divide it by 2 and then you square it and you get 16. So I'm going to add 16 there and I have to balance it on the other side. I just can't add 16 to the right without balancing it on the left. Okay, now I know what you're going to say. I have this thing I could do where I can guess what you're going to say. This is what you're going to say. The number in front of the x is not an 8, it's a negative 8. Isn't that weird how I do that, April? That's exactly what she was going to say. It's really weird. Like, seriously, I bet 80% of the time I can guess what person's going to say. It's correct. I said 8. It's really a negative 8. 8, they both are going to give you the same thing. 8 is easier. Why didn't I say negative 8? Can somebody tell me that? Because when you square it, it ends up being a what anyway? A positive. So listen to these 2 scenarios. 8 divided by 2 is a 4. 4 squared is 16. Negative 8 divided by 2 is a negative 4. And negative 4 times a negative 4 is a positive 16. You get a 16 either way. So you disregard the sign. Okay? Okay, good. Okay, step number 4 is to balance the other side. I already did that. Step number 5, simplify these are reversed. Just simplify one side and factor the other side. So this guy on the left is going to be factored. So watch how easy it is to factor it, guys. You just go x right there. And you see how the sign in front of the 8 is a negative? So a negative goes right there. And then see that 16? What is the square root of 16? It's just a 4. and the whole thing is squared. And then you have equals 10 plus 16 is 26. Now everybody freeze right there. I want to ask you a question. People get confused and they're like, how did you get from there to there? You could answer the question with one word. What did we do? You factored it. Yes, I heard someone say it. You factored it. If I FOIL out, don't write this down, but if I FOIL out x minus 4 squared, looks like that. That's x to the second minus 4x plus 16, which is exactly what I had right there. So I just factored it. Okay? Yes, honey?
Why wouldn't, when you move the constant over to the right side, why wouldn't it become a negative?
It would. It would. Thank you very much. I love that. So then over there is actually not a 26, it's actually a 6. Good. Now, the x is trapped. I can't like add 4 or anything like that. So somebody tell me what the next step is going to be right there. Square rooting it. Good. So now I have x minus 4 equals, what comes right after the equal sign, everybody? If you do the square root, plus or minus the square root of 6. And then the last step is to get the x alone, so you move the 4 over. So your answer is 4 plus or minus the square root of 6, and you're done. That's it. Who says I followed you? Raise your hand. Okay, great. Let's do another one. Nice and simple, and then it's going to get tougher. Okay, here we go. I can tell it doesn't factor. Take your constant, which is a 1, move it over to the other side. So everybody go x to the second minus 8x plus blank equals negative 1 plus blank. Take the 8, divide it by 2, you get a 4. Raise it to the second, you get a 16. So this is a 16, and this is a 16. You're going to factor the left. So guys, look, you got your parenthesis, make your x. Somebody tell me what sign comes right after the x. A negative, because your 8x is a negative. And then you always just go, what's the square root of 16? That's a 4, and it's squared. Equals negative 1 plus 16 is 15. Right? Yes, honey?
Would you be able to do, like, you know how you divide the 8 by 2 to get the 4? Can you take that one?
Yes. Yes. I'm not going to repeat that. Everybody just ignore. The answer is yes. You can. Now I'm going to square root. So I get x minus 4 equals, Braxton, what comes right after that equals? Plus or minus, yeah. And you've got your square root of 15. Good. Kensley, what do I do now? Am I done? What do I do? Move your 4 over. So I have x equals 4 plus or minus the square root of 15, and I'm done. That's it. Okay, who says I gotcha? Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. When you have learned completing the square before, is that what you showed on your work? Is that how you showed it? Raise your hand if that's how you showed your work. It looked just like that. Do a big raise all the way to the ceiling. Okay, who says not me? I didn't write it like that. Okay, if your hand's up and you're saying not me, please switch over. It will cause you problem after problem after problem. Okay? Okay, I want everybody to do this one by yourself. Go ahead.
On Monday or Tuesday?
You had Monday.
And you have a free period on Monday, right? And you're good to do that? Okay. Okay, so just make sure you get caught up.
Okay, guys, I'm going to do it. Okay, let's see how yours looks compared to mine, okay? Pull your 7 over, and it becomes a positive. So I have x to the second plus 6x plus blank equals 7 plus blank. Raise your hand up all the way to the ceiling if you did that so far. Okay, great. 6 divided by 2 is a 3. 3 to the second is a 9. Add 9, add 9. Raise your hand if you did that. Okay. Left-hand side, x to the second goes to an x. Tell me what goes right here, everybody. Plus is correct. And then what goes here? A 3. And then the whole thing is squared. Guys, look right here. If this was a 5, and I go to square root it, and it's not a perfect square, I know I did something wrong. That number in that first blank is always going to be a perfect square. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. One of those numbers is going to be right there. Who says I understand what you're saying? Okay, great. Then equals 9 plus 7 is 16. Who got that far? All the way to the sky. Good. What do I do now, everybody? Square root. And you get x plus 3 equals, talk to me. Just a 4? Plus or minus 4. I'm going to ask you something. Right there. Don't shout this out. I'm going to call on one of you. Last time I told you, if you were doing the quadratic formula and what was in the square root went completely away, like what just happened right here, then you know something. Think about that. Don't shout that. If that square root goes completely away, like it did right there, then the second that happens, you know something. Okay? Corinne, what do you know? It could have factored. Who says I knew that was the answer? You're yay. Okay, so pull your 3 over. Good, honey, you're right. Pull your 3 over. Negative 3 plus or minus 4. If you answered like that, you can't answer like that. That doesn't make sense. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Negative 3 minus 4 is a negative 7. And there's my answer. Who says I understand? Raise your hand. Okay, great. If you didn't get that all on there, then get that, okay? Okay, here is the next one. Okay, so this is going to start getting more difficult. Okay, everybody just freeze right here and watch. Stay right with me. Can anybody look at that problem and right now say why this is going to be more difficult? Because you've got a number in front of the x squared, right? Okay, let's do it. Pull your 52 over. You know what? I'm going to change this problem. I'm going to make it a 51. Tell me what page we're on right now. What is it again?
125.
Thank you. Okay, freeze right there for just a second. Stay right with me. Why did I change it to a 51? Anybody know why? Because I could have factored out a 2, right? And then that would have made it much easier. But 2 doesn't go into 51, so I didn't want to make it weird. Okay, so everybody bring the 51 over. So everybody go 2x to the second plus 4x equals 51. Now, I didn't put my blanks in there. Somebody tell me why I didn't put my blanks in there. First, I have to take out a 2, right? So on the left side, I'm going to take out a 2. And I'm left with x to the second plus 2x plus blank equals 51. The 51 doesn't have anything to do with taking out the 2. I'm just taking out the 2 over here. Okay, I know what you're going to say. She's going to say, why didn't you also take out an x? Because this guy has an x and this guy has an x. So why didn't you do that? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
So then my answer is, how can you complete the square if it's not squared anymore? Because if you take out a 2x, then you're left with x plus 2. You don't have an x squared. You can't complete the square. That's my best solution answer to you, okay? Isn't that weird how I do that? It's crazy. It's kind of creepy, right? Okay, here we go. Middle number's a 2, not a 4, it's a 2. Divide it by 2, you get a 1. 1 squared is 1. Now I have to balance it over here. I do not put a 1. 1 is wrong. What is it? It's a 2. The reason it's a 2 is because, see this 2? It's multiplied by all those things right there.
Shelby Sanders come down to the office?
Can she come in a minute?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so 2 times 1 is 2. So I'm not really adding 1, I'm really adding 2. So that has to be a 2. So if you take something out, your blanks will not match. Let me say that again. If you factor something out, your blanks are not going to match. Who says I understand that? Okay, let's factor it. So the x a second is going to go to an x. Middle sign's a plus. Square root of 1 is 1. The whole thing is squared. 51 plus 2 is 53. Now, I made a mess by changing it to a 51. It's going to be messy, and I didn't want this to happen, but it's going to be okay. You know what? I can fix it. I'm going to fix it. I'm sorry. I just don't want a mess for you. Tell me the page number we're on again. 125. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to change it. I'd way rather change it than to make a mess and you're confused. Okay, make the 51 really a 50. So then in the next line, the 51 is a 50. In the next line, the 51 is a 50. And in the last line, 51 is 52. Isn't that nicer? Yeah. Because what are we going to do now? Shout that out, everybody. Divide by 2. So you have x minus 1 to the second is equal to 26. What do I do now? Did I do something wrong?
Is it the plus? Do the x minus 1 under?
Oh, yeah. Good. What do I do now? Square root. And I get x plus 1 equals, tell me, plus or minus the square root of 26. Now, 26 looks like it could break down, but it's 2 and 13, so that's not going to work, right? Then pull your 1 over, and you get x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 26, and you're done. That's it.
Test, can you write the plus or minus, or do you have to write plus?
Just like that, yeah.
And then will it tell you which way to use, it wants you to complete the square?
Sometimes they do.
But
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't. You can, because will this work
Yes.
for everything that the?
Yeah, so let's answer that question. If you took this problem and you used, look right here, guys. If you use the quadratic formula, what would your answer be? Exactly the same, because it's the same problem. Did I answer your question, honey?
Yeah, and then we have to write them in decimal form.
Oh, did it say decimal form? Okay, great. Grab your calculator. Let's practice this. Shelby, do you know what they want in the office? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think my mom brought something to my other class.
Okay. If you want to go now, you can, but if you want to wait, you can wait.
She wants to talk to me.
Oh, she does? Okay. Why don't you text her and say, I'm coming right now. My math teacher allowed me to come out of math jail. Okay. Okay. Ready? Everybody go -1 plus second x squared 26. Close it, enter, and you get x equals 4 point. What did they want you to round to? 2? Okay. So that's kind of confusing. Look at that. 099. So that tells you to go up. So the 9 goes to a what? A 10. So it's 4.10. And you guys know that the 0 is not necessary. So I'm just going to say 4.1. Okay. Now let's do the negative. Everybody go up 1 button. Then go right. Change it to a negative. Hit enter. And you get negative 6.1. And that's it. Okay, question D. Let's do it together and let's go nice and slowly, okay? Step 1. Bailey, tell me step 1, sweetie. What do we do first? Move the 24. Okay, let's do it. Everybody go 3x to the second plus 12x equals 24. Kennedy, what's my second step? Yes. You know what people say right there, Kennedy? They say, take the 12 and divide by 2. No, you factor it out first, then you do that. Okay, so do the 3, and you're left with x to the second plus 4x plus blank equals 24 plus blank. Jackson, what do we do now, bud?
Divide the 4.
Good. By what?
2.
And what do you get?
2.
And then you?
Square.
And you get?
4.
4. So your first blank is a 4, right? Rebecca, what's my second blank going to be?
12.
It's going to be a 12. Tell everybody why that's a 12 and not a 4. You have to multiply by what you took out. Good. Okay. Here we are right here. Julianne, what's our next step? What are we going to do on the left? It's factor it out. Good. So you have your 3. You've got your x. Julianne, what's this sign right here? A positive. What number goes here, guys? A 2. The whole thing squared equals. Alexandra, what do I have on the right-hand side? 36. Good. Sydney, what are we going to do now? Divide by 3. And you have x plus 2 squared equals 12. April, what now? Square root is exactly right. And you get x plus 2 equals. Amberly, what comes right after the equals?
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus.
Square root of 12.
Square root of 12. Talk to me about that square root of 12. It's going to simplify, right? So let's write the 12 down. 2 times 6 and 2 times 3. So these two 2's come out. So you have x plus 2 equals, does it go 2 plus or minus the square root of 12? Or plus or minus, or pardon me, 2 plus or minus the square root of 3? Or is it plus or minus 2 square root of 3? Which one is it?
Plus or minus.
The top one or the bottom one? It's the bottom one, yeah. The 2 goes with the root, or the 2 goes with the root. So it's plus or minus 2 square root of 3. Okay. Izzy, what's the last step, honey?
Bring the 2 over.
Bring the 2 over. So negative 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3, done. Okay, grab your calculator, guys. Negative 2 plus second, not plus second, plus 2, then second x squared, 3, close it, enter. 2 digits is 1.46. Now go up, right, negative, enter, and I get negative 5.46. Those are my estimations, my approximations, and the one with the square root is the exact answer. Okay? All right, question E. It's going to be tougher. Why is it tougher? Somebody tell me. You've got a negative. Okay? If you wanted to, here's something I want to say. We're not going to do it, but you could. If I wanted to, I could take all those guys, move them that way, take that guy and move them that way. And what would that do to your equation? Change all the signs. So now it's not an ugly negative. I think I would actually probably do that, but we're not going to because I want you to see what it looks like when it's tough like that. Okay? Okay, look at the problem. Jackson, what do you think the first step is going to be? Should I go 4 divided by 4 is 2? Lots of people say that.
Take the 2 out.
Take the negative 2. You have to take exactly what's there. Good, bud. So look what happens. Put your equals negative 12 plus blank. Leave that be. When you take out a negative, guys, the negative positive goes to positive negative. So it switches the signs. Okay? And then you go 2 divided by 2 is a 1x squared. 4 divided by 2 is a 2x plus blank. So switch the signs and see what you're left with. April, what do we do now, honey?
Now you're gonna. Now we can do the negative 2 divided by 2.
Good. And you get?
No, you get
1.
1.
And remember, that's the one, honey, where I don't even take the sign because I know I'm going to square it and it's going to be positive anyway. So in my mind, honey, I go 2 divided by 2 is a 1. 1 to the second is a 1. Okay, good. Dax, what am I going to balance with over here?
-2.
-2. Now, Bailey, with one word, what am I going to do on the left side? And if you want to use more than one word, you can, but you can use just one word. No, not yet. That's the next step, actually. Everybody tell Bailey what we're going to do on the left. You're going to factor it, okay? So everybody go -2. You've got your x, signed to negative because the 2x is a negative. Put your 1, close it, square it, equals -14. Bailey, what are we going to do now? Now you divide. Do you see that, honey? So now you have x minus 1 squared is equal to 7. Macy, what do we do now, honey?
Take the square.
Square root. And you get x minus 1 equals, everybody in the room, what goes here? Plus or minus, the square root is 7. Am I going to have pairs on my 7?
No.
No, nothing to pull out, right? 1 comes over, x equals 1 plus or minus the square root is 7. Let's write it as a decimal. So everybody go 1 plus second x squared, 7, close it, enter. 2 digits would be 3.65. Up, right, negative, enter, -1.65, and I'm done. Who says I get this? Let's see. Okay, yay. Okay, question F. I'm going to keep calling on you. I'm calling on people because you guys are not a very vocal class. So I feel like I have to drag it out of you. So the way I'm dragging it out of you is I'm going to call your name. Okay? Kennedy, what's our first step? Move your 9. -3x to the second minus 12x equals -9. Alexandra, is my next step 12 divided by 2 is a 6, 6 to the second is 36?
No.
No, what is it?
We take out -3.
Good. Should I take the -3 out of the -9?
No.
No, just the other side. So go -3 parenthesis. Corinne, what's that going to do to these signs, this negative, negative? Positive, positive. Good. 3 divided by 3 is a 1, x squared. 12 divided by 3 is a 4x plus blank. Kensley, what do I do? And get? I'm going to get a 4. 4 divided by 2 is a 2. 2 to the second is a 4. Okay? Shaylee, what goes in my second blank?
-12.
-12. Why not a 4?
Because if the times it by the negative.
Because you took out the -3. Good. So, left side. Rebecca, what are we going to do on the left side? So we did take out the -3. So, not divide. That's what we said last time. Okay, nobody say anything. Bailey? Rebecca just said divide by -3. Tell her what it really is. Factor. And you knew anyway. But I wanted Bailey to answer because Bailey made that same mistake last time. Okay, so let's go -3. X and a plus. Square root of 4 is a 2. The whole thing's squared. -9, -12 is a -21. Braxton, what do we do now, bud? Okay, and you get x plus 2 squared is equal to, what's over here, everybody? Positive 7. Negative divided by negative is a positive. Dax, what do I do now, bud?
Use
Square root. And you get x plus 2 equals. Jackson, what comes right after the equals? Plus, yeah, you're right. Plus or minus square root of 7. Move your 2 over. X equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 7. Okay? Grab your calculator and put it in your calculator. See if you can get it. When you do, you get 0.65 and negative 4.65. Who says that's what I got? Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to be a tough question. I don't want you to shout out the answer. I'm going to call on somebody. You guys have no idea who I'm going to call on. Listen to my question. Don't say it out loud. If I take 0.65 and I plug it in to check it, will I get a 0? Don't answer. If I take 0.65 and I plug it into that left side, will I get a 0? Izzy, what's the answer?
No.
You will not. You will not. Tell everybody why you won't.
First, because we rounded, so the numbers won't be exact.
That's the exact answer. If you round and then plug back in, it's not going to work. That's why we store. If you stored it, plugged it back in, totally it would work. Who says gotcha? Okay, you guys are awesome. Okay. This little bit, and then I made a mistake. I did something wrong. I have to go back and fix it. Not today, last time. So I got to fix you. Okay, look right here. What do I do to solve this? Square root. Okay, so everybody go square root. You have x minus 3 equals. Shelby, what comes right after the equals? Plus or minus. And then what number is going to go there, honey? An 8. Everybody freeze. The second the root goes away, I know blank. Alexandra, what do I know? You could have factored it. You're exactly right. Everybody go x equals 3 comes over, plus or minus 8. Here's the next question. I'm going to call on one of you. Is that an acceptable way to write your answer? Don't shout it. Amberly, is it acceptable?
No.
No. So finish it for us, honey. What are the answers?
11 and negative 5.
How'd you do that?
I took 3 and added 8 and took 3 and subtracted 8.
Good. You're exactly right. Okay. Question 3. This was on the final last year. This number 5 is number 3. Is it highlighted? Yeah, I remember this. Okay. The first couple are easy. I think the last one, yeah, the last one's tough, and the last one's the one that was on there. Okay. All they're saying is, what's the blank to make it a perfect square? Well, you just go 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 the second is a 9. Easy. Look at the next one. 10 divided by 2 is a 5. 5 to the second is 25. I hope that C is the one that's highlighted. Is that what I did? Yeah. Okay. Why is C tougher? 7's not even, right? So it's okay. Look what you do. You take 7, write that down. You divide it by 2, and then you square the whole thing. 7 squared is 49. 2 squared is 4. The answer is just 49 over 4. That's your whole lesson, okay? Who says, I think I get this. I think I feel good about today. Okay, wonderful. Okay, now I have to fix what I did last time.